YYYYMMDD, file 21-0774FY. Counsel, identify yourselves for the record.
Thank you, Patrick Swinsky for the people.
Thank you, Your Honor. Todd Diedrich for Miss Sherwood Bovee.
All right, today's time and date set for an arraignment in this case. Mr. Diedrich, are you replacing a full appearance then for the record and not just special appearance for the arraignment? Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right. May I address your client regarding the charges? I presume you instructed her as to how that she's to let you enter the plea.
Correct, I did.
All right. Ms. Sherwood Bovee, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
There's a charge that's on the computer screen. Can you see that document? It's called a felony complaint.
Yes.
All right. This is the charge that's been filed against you. The prosecuting attorney's office has alleged that on or about May 18th of this year, at an address at 883 West Bradford Road in Lee Township, Midland County, Michigan, that you made an assault upon a person by the name of John Stark with a dangerous weapon, which was a pistol, but without intending to commit the crime of murder or to inflict grave bodily harm less than the crime of murder. If you're convicted of this crime, it's a felony punishable by up to 4 years in prison and or $2,000 in fines plus court costs, DNA to be taken upon arrest. There is some provisions here talk about consecutive sentencing. However, there's only one charge. So for something to be consecutive, there would need to be two charges. So this is the charge that has been filed against you. Do you understand the charge in the maximum penalty that I've just read?
Yes.
Mr. Diedrich, how do you inform your client to plead, or how do you plead your client regarding this charge?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Not guilty plea will be entered in the records of the court. There are 3 dates, Mr. Diedrich, because how we're going to handle this. We have a fingerprint machine here at the courthouse, and so you are always welcome to be present, but all that's going to happen on June 23rd at 1:15 is that my staff, one of my probation agents, will just fingerprint her. So that's just an appointment to get fingerprinting done rather than having her go to the jail, presuming that what I do with bond. Then the probable cause conference is going to be June 29th. Katrina, I see a note here that says June 29th at 3. Am I correct on that?
I'm sorry, sir. That was June 20th at 1 and then 3 o'clock on the 6th.
On July 6th. July 6th at 3 o'clock will be the preliminary examination. If there needs to be a movement in the date, we can talk about that at the probable cause conference. So at this time, Mr. Diedrich, your argument regarding bond.
Your Honor, may I first just try to verify the date for the PCC was June 29th at 1 p.m.?
That is correct. And that is
All
by
right,
Zoom.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And then if the preliminary examination goes, that will be live, and that will be on July 6th at 3 o'clock.
Thank you. So as to bond, Your Honor, I would advise that Ms. Sherwood Bovee is a 35-year-old individual with my understanding that she has 0 criminal history, no record whatsoever. She's a lifelong resident of Midland. She has her parents live here. She's a brother, sister, nieces, nephews, cousins, aunts, uncles. She's been employed in the Midland area here since 2012 with the same company, other than there was a 3-year hiatus when she took care of her grandmother, who has since passed away, but she took care of her grandmother during her last 3 years of life. It appears, based on, history of being in Midland her entire life, her very strong contacts to the community, that she is not a flight risk whatsoever. And with 0 criminal record, we've entered a plea of not guilty. Obviously, she's innocent until proven guilty, but she does not appear by any stretch of the imagination to be a threat to any individuals at this point in time. And I would ask the court to consider a PR bond in this matter. She has retained counsel. She has every intention on addressing this issue head on, and no intention whatsoever of trying to evade the matter.
All right. Mr. Swinsky, argument regarding bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Obviously, our biggest concern, this was a firearm offense, so we would ask that she not be able to possess any firearms while on bond. The victim has some, what I would say, serious concerns over her possible retaliation. So anything that would potentially address that would be helpful. Obviously, a no contact provision with the victim, as well as the victim's address. And then most importantly, as I already said, the prohibition on possession of firearms moving forward. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Swinsky, I did have a question. I know that you were not the authorizing attorney.
That's correct.
However, there were two people listed as victims. I was not the magistrate that reviewed this. Judge Beal actually reviewed this. And there were no contact orders with two different individuals. One that was listed in the complaint, John Stark, and then another individual by the name of David Eli Luckett, who was also, the paperwork was presented for a no contact order. Do you have any facts that would lead the court to give some information as to why the person by the name of David Luckett would be included in this?
I know he was present at the time. I know he was present at the time with Mr. Stark. I don't have a lot of details, unfortunately, but my understanding is they were both present at the time, and the hope is that the no contact with everyone would be best for the community's interest to try to make sure the situation doesn't escalate any further.
I'm right with that, but let me show you the affidavit. I don't see a name of an individual. I don't see, I see it in the complaint and I see it in the warrant, but I don't see any. I know that there was a person.
Right.
So I guess my concern is, do you have anything in the incident report? I think a couple things. One is that the defendant has zero criminal history, as Mr. Diedrich indicated. She appeared here. She's hired and retained an attorney to address the issues. I'm inclined to follow the request for the personal recognizance bond with no contact, but I'm trying to determine what factual basis I have to order the no contact and what addresses, because that's what I'm struggling with. And obviously in the bond determinations, hearsay can be admitted. I'm trying to determine why I should have both when I can't determine who it was that was a victim in the affidavit.
I believe
sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Diedrich.
Well, if it makes things easier, Your Honor, I don't think I have a problem stipulating with no contact between John Stark or David Luckett or the address where the event was alleged to have occurred, if that makes the matter easier on the court.
Okay, that may do so. But there's another address. So the address where the incident allegedly occurred to was 883 West Bradford, and that's in the complaint. And then the individual by the name of Luckett is a Maple Crest Drive address. And it looks like Miss Sherwood Bovee lives on Sandow, so it's not the same road. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't I don't know who the players were coming kind of into the game later. I didn't know if they lived in the same neighborhood, but if that's the case, then this is what I'll do. There will be a $25,000 PR bond. It means she doesn't have to post any money to stay out of jail, but may if she messes up. She is not to leave the state of Michigan without permission of the court, to appear in court each time, including the June 23rd at 1:15. Ms. Sherwood Bovee, the June 23rd at 1:15 is at the courthouse. You would need to come here because they just need to get your fingerprints. And so my probation department, you're not on probation. You're considered innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But those are the people that I have hired to do the work. So they won't ask you any questions other than, are you, and make sure that you follow the instructions regarding fingerprinting. The next time on June 29th will be by Zoom, and your attorney will inform you as to how to do that. It's very exact same numbers we're using now. And then July 6th at 3:00 would be in the courthouse here. So those 3 days, first one's at the courthouse, second one's by Zoom, the third one is at the courthouse. again, Mr. Diedrich, it's up to you if you want to accompany her. I know my staff doesn't ask any questions because we got too many people to fingerprint. No, there'll be no leaving the state of Michigan without permission of the court, no violating any laws, no contact with either, let me get the names, no contact with John Robert Stark or going to the address of 883 West Bradford Road, and no contact with a person by the name of David Eli Luckett, and his address is 4217 North Maple Crest Drive in Sanford. So you can't go to either of those addresses or have interactions with either of those persons. You may not engage in any threatening, intimidating, violent, or aggressive behavior. And until we know more about this, because it was a firearm crime, you're prohibited from purchasing and possessing a firearm while the pendency of this case is in play. Since I have no prior record to indicate that you have an alcohol or substance abuse problem, and I do not see any facts that indicate that you do, I'm not ordering any other terms at this point in time. I may change my mind if it gets to the probable cause conference preliminary examination. I know more, but right now it's just don't leave state, don't have contact with those people, don't go to those places, get your fingerprints done, and don't be hostile, violent, threatening, intimidating, and then don't possess a firearm. So at that point, is there anything else we need to place on the record, Mr. Diedrich?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Schwinski?
Just some clarification, Your Honor. The issue you had was the lack of specificity in the affidavit as far as the victims. Was that the issue? Just so I know in the future.
Well, it wouldn't matter. I mean, I think there's enough in the affidavit. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the charging that I met probable cause. The issue was I couldn't tell from the affidavit to determine which victim and why there were two names.
Right.
Because in the complaint, it lists one person, but then there's two documents. There were two documents submitted, and then on your warrant, it lists two people as witnesses. And since I didn't hear the facts, the deputy may have told more facts when they were sharing the information, but if I look at the four corners, I can't see who's there. I can't see there's two people there, let alone the name of who the other person was.
Right.
I presume if there were two people there in proximity, there might have been two charges with each person being listed.
Right. I understand.
But
okay.
And that was my concern, that there was an allegation that this person pulled a gun and threatened to shoot a person. There's probable cause at least to charge and sign. So I'm not challenging the veracity of the complaint. It's just I couldn't tell her to stay away from people if I don't know why I needed to do that. I need to have some kind of rational basis.
All right, I understand. I think it was just a situation where we, the charging decision to just charge one charge, but we'll make sure in the future that it's more clear. I think that will be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, just if there's two people listed. Yes, Katrina.
I'm sorry. Are we referring this at all to Circuit Court Pretrial Services for her to monitor?
Not at the time, because there's no services that I can list for her to do.
Thank you.